This morning's going to be a little bit different. Of course, we're going to let God do whatever He wants to do. But I want to kind of just teach this morning, if that'd be all right.
Yes.
Because of where we're at a time and things that's happening around us, folks. If you don't know, and too many people would rather just stick their head in the sand and pretend that all this is going away. But if you notice, it ain't going away. But the more we understand what God said was going to happen and what the plan was as He looked down into the future and saw these things and what His plan was and what He saw, we understand that, folks. It takes the fear out of these things that's happening. It takes the one, if you look at this thing through just natural eyes and you see all these things that's happening, we've talked about it a lot around here. And we got to say it takes supernatural ignorance to do some of the things that the world is caught up into today. It's more than just natural ignorance. It takes supernatural ignorance to see, what's happening. But we understand this morning, we must understand that we have an enemy that hates you. He don't want you sick. He don't want you down. He don't want you depressed. He wants you dead. And all of those other things that he brings upon man is just to get them to the place where he can kill them. He has no mercy because in his mind you are in his place. But he also knows he's a desperate foe, and he also knows that his time is running out. But he has moved into this time where he understands what he has to do now, he must do quickly. Because Jesus is coming back. And his reign of terror will end. But everything is falling so quickly now into place like a giant jigsaw puzzle. But the Bible tells us, fear not. Fear not. Because God has already saw all things as a whole. And when we look at this Bible, folks, down through history, there's been fortune tellers and soothsayers and all sorts of people who call themselves prophets. And they say things, like 76% of what we predict comes true. Well, that would be enough to get you stoned in the Old Testament days. It would get you stoned. There's never been a prophet, no prophets, no soothsayers, no seers anywhere that could compare to the prophets in this Bible. Because God gave them insight that natural man could not have. He gave them visions of things that all of man's education could not possibly make them even imagine that this could happen. And most of the prophets that we see in the Bible, were killed by their own people. Because the devil never has liked the truth. And when they would come along and tell people the truth, it would make the people mad. It would stir them up. And most of the prophets died in very horrible deaths at the hand of their own people. But it didn't stop the message. Because the message that God had given them has come down to us. And it still gives us insight even to this day. They called kings by their name long before the kings was born. I believe it was like 150 years or something like that. When Isaiah called Cyrus king of Persia. All those years before he was born, Isaiah called him by name through the Spirit of God. And through the Spirit of God, they laid out the whole plan. And they laid out, the words, their words was written to show us who Jesus was going to be long before Jesus got here. We understood by their words what tribe he was going to be from, the timing he was going to come, the ministry he was going to fulfill. We understood that he was going to be crucified on the cross, how he was going to be resurrected, even to his second coming. The prophets wrote it years and years and years before it happened. And because they were inspired by God, folks, that's the only reason they could be 100% correct 100% of the time. Because the Spirit of God in them gave them a truth that they could not figure out any other way. And one of the greatest of the prophets in the Old Testament, there was a lot of great ones, folks. We're going to look at some of his things this morning, is Daniel. Daniel. He went into Babylonian captivity somewhere around 605 BC. He was carried away as a young man into Babylon. He was probably a prince because he was well educated. The Bible said that he was a cunning in knowledge, understanding science. In other words, he was well educated, and the common people of that day did not get great educations, but so it makes us believe that Daniel was probably a prince. And his whole life was turned upside down. He went from being royalty to being a slave in a foreign nation. Today, you know, we look at people that's in leadership position, and we seem to think that nothing should ever bad happen to them. They seem to think that in a lot of cases. You know, because I'm a child of God, nothing bad's going to ever happen. God didn't say that. Matter of fact, Jesus said in this life we'd have great tribulation. But Daniel went into captivity probably as a teenager and never saw his homeland again. Died an old man in captivity. But God moved, and Daniel lived through 3 different reigns, and all of them exalted him in the kingdom because of the Spirit of God that was in him. Now he was taken along with some Jewish boys named Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah. And they were taken to the king's palace because they saw in them an excellent spirit. Now, you know, when we hear about Daniel's friends in our Bible school study, they're called Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. That was the name the Babylonians gave them. Because even though they could see that there was a difference in these young men, that there was a power in them that they didn't see in their own offspring. See, in the Hebrew, they gave their children names that meant something, and Daniel's name meant God is judge. So they changed Daniel's name to Belshazzar, which means Baal, the idol god, will protect. And they changed these young men's names so that when they spoke, they wouldn't be making reference to the God of creation. You see that same spirit today, folks. Don't make reference to the God of creation. You'll offend somebody. So that's what they did with these young Hebrews. They changed all of their names so that even though they could see that they had something in them great, but they changed their names so that they would not be referencing God. But old King Nebuchadnezzar had a dream. And you know, as you look at it, it troubled him. It was so vivid and so real to him that it took sleep from him, and he couldn't understand what this thing was. And we look at this and you say, well, now, how is it that God gave this heathen king this dream, this revelation that was of things that was coming? Why did he give it to that heathen king? Because under that heathen king's dominion was God's man, Daniel. And he knew that God knew, I'm going to give this to this king, it's going to disturb him. And he knew that none of the Chaldean prophets and soothsayers could tell him what the dream meant. So he was going to use Daniel. And he was going to forever place Daniel in a position of honor in the king's eyes. And so this king had this great dream, and he got upset because none of the soothsayers and seers of Babylon could tell him. Now, it's in the second chapter of Daniel. Just turn over there. And verse 31 starts out as Daniel is telling him what the dream was. Second chapter of Daniel, verse 31. Daniel had prayed, and him and his companions, and God had showed him exactly what he showed the king. And gave Daniel understanding of it. He said, Thou, O king, sawest, and behold a great image. This great image, whose brightness was excellent. In other words, it was a shining, huge image. Stood before thee, and the form thereof was terrible or frightening. The image's head was fine gold. The breast and his arms the image head was of fine gold, his breast and his arms of silver, his belly and thighs of brass, his legs of iron, his feet part of iron and part of clay. Thou sawest till the stone was cut out without hands, which smote the image upon his feet, that were of iron and clay, and broke them in pieces. Then the iron and clay, and the brass, the silver, and the gold broke into pieces together, and became like the chaff of the summer threshing floors, and the wind carried them away, and no place was found for them. And the stone that smote the image became a great mountain, and filled the whole earth. And now, verse 37 begins to tell him what this dream meant. But he says this, going on, reading on down to 37. This is the dream, and we will tell the interpretation thereof before the king. Thou, O king, art a king of kings, for the God of heaven has given thee a kingdom, power, and strength, and glory. And wheresoever the children of men dwell, the beasts of the field and the fowls of the heaven, hath he given unto thine hand, and hath made thee ruler over them all. Now he's beginning to tell him what is the meaning of this beast. Thou art the fine head of gold. Now, Nebuchadnezzar was the ruler over Babylon, so Babylon, he's speaking of Babylon, he said, you are, as ruler of Babylon, you're the head of gold. And after that shall arise another kingdom, you see that? Inferior to thee, and to another third kingdom of brass, which shall bear rule over all the earth. And the fourth kingdom shall be strong as iron, for as much as the iron breaketh in pieces, and subdueth all things, as iron that breaketh all these, shall it break in pieces and bruise. And whereas thou saw the feet and toes part of potter's clay and part of iron, the kingdom shall be divided, and there shall be in it of the strength of the iron, or as much as thou sawest the iron mixed with miry clay. And as the toes of the feet were part of iron and part of clay, so the kingdom should be partly strong and partly broken. And whereas thou saw iron mixed with miry clay, they shall mingle themselves with the seed of men, and they shall not cleave one to another, even as iron is not mixed with clay. And in the days of these kings shall the God of heaven set up a kingdom which shall never be destroyed, and the kingdom shall not be left to other people, that it shall break in pieces and consume all these kingdoms, and it shall stand forever. For as much as I saw the stone that was cut out of the mountain, without hands, and it broke in pieces the iron, the brass, the clay, the silver, and gold, the great God has made known unto the king, which shall come to pass hereafter. And the dream is certain, and the interpretation, therefore, sure. He said, Nebuchadnezzar, what you just saw is the future kingdoms coming, right on up to the return of Christ, where his kingdom is set up. And if you look back at history, we see there was Babylon, there was the Medes and the Persians, there was Greece, and the fourth kingdom that of iron that broke all the others into pieces was the mighty Roman Empire. And it was, the two legs was representing this empire, because the Roman Empire was split in two divisions, the western and the eastern half. Now, there's just four kingdoms. You notice that. Now, he saw this feet made of clay and of iron. But it was not like the others. These four was world kingdoms of the known world at that time that all conquered Israel. Now, John in Revelation saw the same thing that Daniel saw. In chapter 13 and 17 of Revelation, you don't have to turn over there, but it tells the same story. John calls him a beast with 7 heads and 10 horns, or 10 power centers. And I want us to understand that. The 10 toes that Daniel saw are the 10 horns that John saw. And the 10 horns, see, people taught for years that the 10 horns was going to be the European Union, the restored Roman Empire. But now, then the European Union got more than 10 member nations. So that kind of knocked that in the head. But you see, that is part, the restored Roman Empire is going to be part, it is part of that European Union. But this thing representing Rome had 2 legs and 10 toes. And the 2 legs, the western part of Rome, are the Western nations. I mean, you know, they're France and Britain and Germany and all these. But the eastern leg is now Islamic countries. And John saw these things coming together. He called it the beast, and Daniel called it the toes and the clay. Now, John, in Revelation 17, let's just flip over for just a minute, and we'll get back to Daniel. But John is seeing this same vision that Daniel saw and interpreted. And in chapter 17, and we'll look at verse 10. And John says this. Now, he's just saw this beast with 7 heads and 10 horns. He said, the 7 kings, there are 7 kings, or 7 kingdoms. 5 are fallen, and 1 is, and the other is not yet come. And when he is come, he must continue a short space. And the beast that was and is not, even he is the 8th and is of the 7th, and goeth into perdition. And the 10 horns which thou sawest are 10 kings which have received no kingdom yet, but receive power as kings or kingdoms, 1 hour with the beast. Now, he said, over here in Daniel we see the 4 kingdoms, because it started with Nebuchadnezzar. John saw it going all the way back. See, what Daniel was telling Nebuchadnezzar was that it was going to be Babylon, the Medes and Persians, Greek, and then the Romans. But John went back to Egypt and Assyria, which had also conquered Israel in their time. That's the ones that John saw, that where 5 was fallen and 1 is. The one that was then was the Roman Empire. He said, 1 is yet to come. And the one that is yet to come will rule over a loose-knit, a fitted together global community, which we are seeing now. Now, Britain just pulled out of the European Union, and the world went crazy for a few days. But it doesn't make any difference what you start seeing on your television. God already said in the end time they would be under one global ruler. Yes. See? And the 10 toes or the 10 horns will be power points, not just nations, but nations coming together like the EU with no borders, with a single law, ruling trade, economics, and politics. In all this mixture is the Western idea and the Islamic ideas coming together, trying to form peace in the world by themselves. Problem is, Islam does not unite with Western ideas. The whole teaching of Islam is world dominance. It becomes the clay with the iron. We call it political correctness. Yes. We don't offend it. We're trying to bring it all together. And Britain has pulled out of the EU. But let me tell you something, folks. You never go back once you get so far into this. See, Britain has been without borders for years and years and years and years. And London has an Islamic mayor right now, and they are talking about maybe pulling themselves out of Britain, taking the capital out. See, it ain't fool God. God saw these things coming together under a loose-knit unity of global influence. And what does this have to do with us? Well, have you ever heard of NAFTA? Have you ever heard of the mutual protection treaty that was signed with Canada and Mexico? In other words, we're going to share information and we're going to mutually protect each other. Have you ever saw borders just open so people could come as they wished? One of those powers, one of those heads, one of those toes will be America, Mexico, and Canada, a point of power. We see it coming now. We see it coming now. A nation cannot survive as sovereign without borders. It cannot. See, that's what's happened to Europe now. And Brussels sends out all of the laws. There were even the reason Britain began to try to pull out, and they just barely got that vote. I don't know how long that's going to last. But they were even telling them how much sugar they could put in their tea. Folks, that sounds like, But do you realize the government is telling our school kids what they can eat in school? You cannot raise your children at home the way that your parents raised you, or you're in deep trouble. Our colleges are teaching them not how to think for themselves, but how to think globally. Children goes into college, church kids, and a high percentage of them come out of college with an atheistic mindset. Why? It's being taught so that we can fit into this that Daniel saw and that John saw. Now, that western half of the old Roman Empire, was Britain and France and Germany and Italy and all these. But the eastern leg was Iraq, Syria, and Iran and Saudi Arabia and all these. So we come to this place now to where we're down to the governments of that Daniel saw as the feet and the toes. And we're forming into blocks. Yes. And we will wind up, see, as under one government authority. People thought that all the nations would just dissolve. That ain't going to happen. There will be a United States, there will be a Mexico, there will be a Canada, there will be a Russia, there will be a Germany, just like they are now. But they all will be answering to one authority called the Antichrist, who will control all commerce, all political movements, all religious movements. You ever wonder why a religion that tries to kill us is embraced when Christianity is made a terrorist organization? It's because they know, folks, that There's just one truth, and his name's Jesus. And they know that true Christianity will not compromise. Now, there's people that call themselves Christians that will. But true Christianity is against everything the Antichrist will stand for. So it must be moved out of the way. Let me tell you, they don't see what they're doing is bad. They see it as a good thing because they see the powers that be across this world influenced by Satan see themselves as the Savior of man. You and I don't have sense enough to take care of ourselves, so we'll just save them. We can all work it out, you know. If we just all get together, we can work it out. Well, folks, if we could do that, we already would have. Man cannot work this out because in man is the seed of sin, and that sin causes him to desire power, to get sold on himself. See? So, man's not going to work this out, but there's a man coming who's going to say he's God. That will try to work this out. See, and down in these feet, it's not a fifth empire as the other four, but a global gathering of iron and clay. Now, if we go back over to Daniel 2 there, where we was reading, verse 33, you see this. His legs, that's plural, you see that? Of iron. So he's talking about a restored Roman Empire, which was the legs. Two of them brought together, the western side and the eastern side brought together. Now, with Rome, their army was strong, mighty, and ruthless, conquering everything. But with this restored global unity, there we would have, and we've got more power, more firepower militarily than any other time in the world. They tell us that we can destroy everything many, many, many times over now. But it doesn't make any difference unless you've got some kind of human unity, human control. See? And so that will come as we give our sovereignty over to a one world government. And they're not even making any excuses anymore. If you watch the news, you will hear them talking about the global community. This is what they're talking about. They're talking about the feet made of iron and clay. We can't have borders. We can't be sovereign. It's a global community. God saw it and told Daniel about it and told John about it. See, the Islamic teachings, and I hear this all the time. The other night I was sitting there and they had these Islamic scholars on. And one of them said, that was before they killed all these folks over in Bangladesh. But one of those folks on there, the Islamic scholar, said there's nothing in the Quran that teaches us to kill innocent people. It's all in the play of words, folks. This is the religion that is coming up. It's going to be the world religion. But it's in the words. I can show you all through the Quran where it says kill the infidel. Show them no mercy. Kill them wherever you find them. But he said there's nothing in there that condones killing innocent people. See, and with a Western mindset, we think, okay, Islam doesn't teach killing us. But innocent to them are those that follow after Islam, their teaching. You're not innocent if you cast out Islamic teaching. Even among Islam, folks, if the Sunni is not going along with the Shiite, they're not innocent to the Shiite. They'll kill one another. It's all in the play of words. But God saw it to start with. And he said the iron, the toes of iron he said they'll mingle themselves together with the seed of man, but they can't cling one to another. It's kind of like Babylon when they tried to work this thing out without God. It become total confusion. But now, there is coming a leader on a white horse. And Islam is looking for him. And we see him in Revelation 6, starting at verse 2, where it talks about the coming judgment. And we'll just turn over right quick. We got time to read that, don't we? Yeah. Revelation 6. Verse 2. This is the beginning of the seals open and judgment poured out. And he said, and I saw and behold a white horse, and he that sat on him had a bow, and a crown was given unto him, and he went forth conquering and to conquer. This is the coming Antichrist, a man who speaks of peace. You notice he's got a bow, but he doesn't mention arrows. He's speaking peace, but he's got the weapon of war. They teach, and they call him the 12th Ammon, a man that was born back in 868, I think, BC, and kind of disappeared. And they said God just took him and hid him. And a lot of them believe he's in a whale over in Iran just waiting. They believe that. I tell somebody, if he'd been in that well for all these years, he'd be wrinkled as a prune. But they're looking for this leader to come forth on a white horse. Jesus is coming forth on a white horse too. The devil's bringing the counterfeit. They even say that he is the man that the Christians will call Antichrist because he will break the power of the cross. And that Jesus will come back with him and say that Islam is the true religion. See? It's a counterfeit. This man in the Bible, again, I love it when God just exposes everything before the devil even gets to it. This man will have Jewish heritage, but he won't claim it. He will come from, and I can show you this if any time you know that you doubt this. We'll sit down with the Bible and I'll show you where the Bible lays it out. He'll come from the tribe of Dan, which disappeared out of the Jewish history years and years and years ago. Suddenly Dan just disappeared. But out of Dan, he will come, but he's not claiming Jewishness. But he'll have some intelligence on the Jewish behavior. And they, for a while, those that's left, many of them will accept him. Now, they call him the 12th Ammon, and we call him the Antichrist. He will not acknowledge the God of heaven, but he himself, the Bible said, he will be sitting in the temple of God, professing himself to be God. He'll say, we can work this out. Now, the number that he will number the nations with, everybody that's following him, and see, that was impossible till the computer age, to number everybody. You understand we've got the capabilities now of numbering everybody in the world? We even got the chips. And see, under this globe, it's the only way to make sure everybody is equal. Do you see the Spirit working in America? Let's make everybody equal. Let's tax the rich and give to those that's not rich. Make everybody equal. But see, he's coming, and that number will be 666, and 6 is the number of man. So what that means, man's spirit, his body, spirit, and soul, 3 parts. What that means, this man will come and he will appeal to every part of humanistic thought. He will appeal to our passions and our desires, and everything will, that he will be bringing forth will appeal to flesh man. That will be his number, 666. And he will, if you read those judgments, you find there this the third beast that comes in Revelation 5. He will have the balances in his hand. And remember, this is the judgment's coming. Starts out with the Antichrist, and then you've got this guy that comes forth with balances, a measure of barley for a penny, a measure of wheat for a penny. And see that you hurt not the oil and wine. See, that's equaling out everything to everybody. The oil and wine is symbolism of the rich class. The hierarchy, the ruling class, will still be rich, but they will be given to you what they want you to have. And this will be a worldwide thing, balancing out to you. That's the spirit working in America now. That's what raised up Barney Sanders. Everything free. And I heard a college-age kid the other day giving an interview, and she said, why, sure, I'd be all right in taxing the rich 90% of what they make and giving to those that was less fortunate. Now, she's going to college so she can get an education, so she can make money to be taxed 90%. Ignorance going to seed. But it's the spirit, folks, that is claiming, is gathering the whole world. We can make a utopia if we just get everybody agreeing. If we cast out the haters, if we cast out the naysayers, we can just make a utopia. If we cast out Christianity, which keeps telling folks the truth. It's the spirit that's moving today. It's that spirit of the 10 toes and the feet that are in the clay. But they never really be joined. But I want us to look back one more time to Daniel. I want to put some emphasis on this. Look back one more time. We'll try to get away. Look at verse 44. One more time. And in the days of these kings shall the God of heaven set up a kingdom which shall never be destroyed, and the kingdom shall not be left to other people, but it shall break in pieces and consume all these kingdoms, and it shall stand forever. In the days of these 10 kings. Pretty plain, ain't it? He said, when you see these things come together, in their day, the God of heaven is going to crush all of them and set up a kingdom that will never be destroyed. We're living in their day. Is it in full working power yet? No, but it's mighty close. And in their days, and Daniel went on to say that the interpretation would be sure. What he said, pay attention. This is what God showed me. Pay attention. This is the plan. And it's sure. God will see to it. There will be a kingdom not established under man's laws, but under God's laws. Amen. And there will be a king not voted in, and he can't be voted out. There will be a kingdom that won't have a Supreme Court that issues orders out of emotion and not out of the law. John said this about him, about the king that's coming to rule in righteousness. John said, out of his mouth goes a sharp sword, that with it he shall smite the nations, and he shall rule them with a rod of iron, and he treadeth the winepress of the fierceness and wrath of Almighty God. John said, when Jesus gets here, he's going to set it all right. Ain't going to be no protest in the street against him then. That ain't good English, but that's good truth. When Jesus sits down in his throne, folks, there won't be those raising up saying, "You're intolerant. You're judging me." Because he'll say, "Yep." Because it would be the laws of God, the laws of life. The people of the world read these things and they want to rebel against God because of why he's just so terrible, he's just so cruel. No, he's trying to give us life. Because his word, Jesus said, "My words are truth and they are life." But when he gets here and sits up on his throne, folks, he will demand life in his creation. He can do that because he created it. Everything that is set up contrary to God's word, God's love, God's people will be crushed. No man-made dictators anymore. No man-made dictators. Just Jesus that loves us. Now, we ain't going back over there. It's in a different chapter anyway, but it's in Daniel's 7th chapter. Daniel speaking of the same thing of this coming King Jesus. He says this: "There was given him dominion and glory and a kingdom that all people, nations, and languages should serve him. And his dominion is an everlasting dominion which shall not pass, and his kingdom that which shall not be destroyed." Not a maybe. You notice it's not a maybe in any of that. It's just, this is the way it is. Now, he gave this dream to Nebuchadnezzar, and Daniel interpreted it. And Daniel had a dream later that went along with this same thing. God showed him in the end time the coming together of the global community. There's never been a time when it happened before globally, except this time. And in the days of these kings. And see, when we look at things, folks, around us, see, the days of this king, Jesus is coming. But we look around at us and we see these things happening, and we have become so asleep in our mind, if we're not careful, we won't even be asking ourselves, why is this happening? Who sees logic in this? We won't even ask the question. But we need to be asking questions. And it's happening now because it was prophesied of long before your great-great-great-grandparents was born. And the word is true. And God has brought mankind all the way from the Garden of Eden to here, and he's always laid out the plan. So we wouldn't be surprised, so we wouldn't be deceived. But it's easy to be deceived. All you have to do is not think. And folks don't take time to think. We're so busy. And let me tell you something else too. It's the devil that keeps people so busy that they cannot think. It's not Jesus. Jesus wants you to have life and have it more abundantly. It's not Jesus. But the system that the devil has brought that demands that we don't have a minute because we're trying to live physically. That's not of Christ. He's got us here. He don't want you thinking. He don't want you reading. He don't want you understanding so that you'll be caught up. We talk about Mystery Babylon, which the Bible is symbolic of this world government. We talked about it a few weeks ago. But he wants your mind so numb that you'll get caught up in these things because they're what you're seeing every day. That's the reason he said, "Come out of her, my people, that you be not partakers of her plagues." See? We've got to keep our eyes on what God said. Because all of the kingdoms that he laid out has come and gone. And here we are in the feet, in the 10 toes forming. And see, this image we still got traces of all these other governmental empires in about every government of the world right now. You'll see traces. If you go back and see what they taught, what they did, you'll see traces in our governments now. But Daniel saw when the rock hit the feet that every part, remember we just read that? Every part of man-made government will crash and the wind will take them away. People, oh, I've heard that all my life. You ain't never been here. You ain't never been right here. Now we're seeing come to pass these things. And see, it could not have been another generation before us because everything wasn't in place. It can't be another generation after us because everything is in place. In the days of these kings, see, we didn't have the knowledge to, or the capabilities of marking the whole world under the computer age. There was prophecies that said Israel would be a nation again. Until 1948, that couldn't happen. See? Jesus said that unless the days were shortened, no flesh would be saved. We didn't have the capabilities of killing everybody, but we can now. See? The witnesses that we see there in Revelation, the two witnesses, and everybody probably knows that. That story of the two witnesses. And all the world will see them. That couldn't have happened until we shot up the communication satellite. I believe it's Nahum that talks about the chariots in the last days with flaming fire. He saw rockets. We got them. Everything has come together. And the Spirit of the Lord says, wake up, church. And I ain't talking about just here. I'm talking about the Spirit of the Lord is moving all over. And folks are beginning to awake. We're beginning to have revivals break out. You know, there was one broke out in Virginia over there before the flood started that went for weeks. There's one in Burlington, North Carolina now that's been, I think, 9 weeks. And young people are coming and getting saved. There's a spirit stirring to bring God's folks together. And there's a spirit stirring to bring the world together. And it's about to crash. There'll be a church staying and a church leaving. Leave with the one going. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. God told Daniel that those things that he saw was not for his time, but for a time coming. And he also told Daniel, see, Daniel, like I said, he died in captivity. He never went back to his homeland. But he gave Daniel this word. He said, you will stand in your lot at the end of days. What he was saying to Daniel, the land that I promised your family, I'm going to give it to you in the resurrection. See, God never forgot him. And the promise is still sure. And as we see these things coming, and again, we're going to see more and more of it. And I'm not trying to talk negative. I'm trying to tell the truth. Before I even talk negative, let me tell you this. It doesn't make any difference. Jesus is still king and you're still more than conquerors. But we're in the year of chaos. And it's coming. And it's coming. And I'm not talking about just in America. I'm talking about this is the year of chaos. I feel that in my spirit. Because it's chaos that's going to bring all this together. You hear people in the pulpit saying, oh, it's the best time we've ever been in. It is in one sense. But not in the sense of the world. It's not the best time. Jesus said, unless the days were shortened, no flesh would be saved. That's what he said. Jeremiah called it a time of Jacob's trouble. It's chaos. It's chaos. And the chaos will bring together, because of necessity, the world governments under one world leader. The 12th Amen. And again, The Islam will accept him as the 12th Imam. A lot of the Jews will accept him because he's until he sits down in that temple. They'll think he's Messiah too, because he'll come with a great message. And the world will follow. And I'm going to tell you, folks, not only will the world follow after him, if he came today, with that great message, I can assure you peace in the world. I can assure you prosperity. I can assure you healing. If he came with that message today, it would take days for you to stand in line to get to him. The world's ripe. The church is almost ready. You look around and say, well, I don't see it ready. You're seeing in the natural. God sees the church. Everybody attends the building ain't the church. God's got one going. God's got one going. We can all be a part of that one. I thank God my name's written in the Lamb's Book of Life. What about you?